So in order to pass the situational part of your test, the link below, of course, is my test that helps you out. It also relates directly to the interview process as well. So if you understand the test, you can also pass the interview process regarding situational processes, situational questions, if then. However, sometimes in the CBP interview process, you also will encounter non-situational questions. So let's get right down to it. First one is going to be, why do you want to work for CBP? Good question, of course, right? When they ask you things like this, you always want to reach back in history a little bit. I don't care if it's 2 years or 3 years, but I want you to reach back in history. So here's a sample answer. So why do you want to work for CBP? Thank you for that question. You know, for years now, I've always wanted to work for CBP. I like what it stands for, protecting our country. I like to think of myself as being on the front line to make sure people who I don't even know are safe because of my actions that I'm doing. I like the integrity, the mission, what it stands for. It's a job where I know I can go home every day, every single day, and feel like I have accomplished something good. That's a good answer, right? Because part of their mission is, of course, integrity, protect the homeland, and things like that. Also, too, you see how I went back in history a little bit. So they're thinking, oh, okay, this person's had always wanted to be CBP, at least the past 2-3 years. This is a goal they've wanted. This is why they are here, right? There we go. Next question is, what do you know about the role of a CBP officer? Now, overall, it's a good question, right? But you want to make sure you also look at the specifics of wherever area you're interviewing at, right? Understand that role. So let me give you a general answer. What do you know about the role of the CBP officer? I know the CBP officers must be integrity filled because there are a lot of situations where it is going to be my integrity that gets me through the day. Also, I know they have to be very physically fit. They have to be people who are good critical thinkers. I'm a good critical thinker. I like to understand and assess before I react to anything. I think that's critical. I understand too that we have to always know we have to de-escalate and not escalate. That means think before we act. I have done that all my life. It's like the gun, ready, aim, fire. Some people fire, aim, ready. I'm not like that. I like to think things through critically. I love being a team member. I know that CBP officers are, of course, strong team members. They rely on each other. I like that as well. I know CBP officers have to have and understand how the chain of command works. Basic person like myself would then have a supervisor and so on and so forth. I understand that as well. So you guys, in that answer, you see that you are talking about the role of a CBP officer, but you also see me folding in my own attributes, my own talents into that question. You don't want to talk about the role just as a third party, right? Oh, they're this, they're this, they're this. I'm saying they are this, and then I'm saying what I am as well. So it becomes one, understand? It's like I'm talking about myself sometimes, but also the role of the officer as well, understand? So make sure you fold that in, okay? So next one you're gonna see about, tell me about your background that prepares you for this position. I get emails all the time from people who worked at McDonald's, who work at Walmart, who work at wherever they work, right? They say I have a hard time relating to that question. And sometimes they don't get to second interview because of that. You guys, it doesn't matter where you work, right? People think, oh, work at McDonald's, it's no good, and they laugh, haha. McDonald's is a great way to show you have talent. Let me show you how to answer the question. Let's use McDonald's as our example. So tell us your background, how your background prepares you for this position. Right now I work at McDonald's, and so people may not think it relates, but it does. At McDonald's, I work with a team. To get the customer, to have excellent customer service, I have to work as a team and depend on my crewmates. Sometimes people are not happy, and I have to learn how to be calm, which I am. I have to make sure I listen to what they're saying. I have to always think about de-escalating the issue. And what always works for me is just to listen intently, to ask questions. If I cannot answer a question, then I will escalate to my supervisor, my manager, so on and so forth. I think my background at McDonald's de-escalation, listening, teamwork, customer service, which is the people who I serve, right? Customer service. I think those qualities would definitely be able to qualify me, at least at the very basic level, for CBP officer. Now, you guys, you see how I did that? Even if someone on the panel is doubting my job, right? Oh, McDonald's, right? But the way you answer it, I said teamwork, right? I said conflict resolution, right? Which also involves critical thinking, right? I involved de-escalation, and I said what? Chain of command. Those things are critical on what they're going to want to hear, right? Next question is going to be, are you willing to relocate or work on holidays? That's a yes, of course. If you're serious about this career, it's not a job. If you understand a job, yeah, I don't want to work weekends, it's a job. But this is a career. You do what you got to do to get your foot in the door. So of course you're going to work. Next one will be probably, how do you handle pressure and stressful environments? You guys, C and D, it's always that way. C and D, remember that for a minute. So how do I handle stressful situations? That's great. I'm a critical thinker. I like to think about the situation from looking 10 feet away at the situation and how would I handle it. And then I'm always thinking de-escalation. I don't want to ramp up a situation that's already stressful. I want to make sure, like I do every day at my job now, how to de-escalate, how to use my critical thinking. I think my personality, the way I look at problems, translate directly into the role of a CBP officer. I'm calm and I'm collected. I always look for de-escalation. I make sure I follow CBP policies in everything I do. If I need help, I always ask for help. I believe that in those situations, with that criteria I bring to any situation, it will make me a great candidate for the CBP office. Last one just says, do you feel confident about the physical and background requirements? Well, of course you do. You're not going to say no to that, right? You're going to say, yes, I feel confident about the physical and background requirements. I have no problem with that at all. And then they're always going to ask you, do you have any questions for us? Now, I made a video for this already. I'll put the link below for you guys. You guys, also, you have to understand there is a symbiotic relationship between the interview and the test. The reason why I say that is because the situational questions, which you will get, they're in the test down below in the link. But the answers down there also relate to the interview because they're going to ask you, for the most part, a lot of situational questions in the interview. If you can take the test, you'll understand it relates directly to the interview. This is why a lot of you don't pass, because you don't understand the symbiotic relationship. A lot of guys say, oh, I'm going to be a CBP guy, go down and take a test, and they don't pass. Or they take some tests out there for $200, a pre-test, and they don't pass. The secret is you have to understand the symbiotic relationship between the test and the interview. My test is designed to make sure you understand the test questions are situational, as are the interview questions as well. They're related, they're married. Most folks don't understand that. This is why there's a 34% fail rate on the CBP test. Okay, so thus your review for your non-situational questions you may most likely encounter on the interview. All of them? No, but for sure you will get some of them. Go back in the video, study my answers, and see how you will deal with those answers. Okay, work them in your head how you're going to do. And also too, don't worry about your current job. It's fine to have a job now. You are there really to get a career, so it's okay you have a job. Don't feel bad about that. Everybody starts somewhere. Okay. When I was 18, I worked at McDonald's for a year before I started college, so it's no big deal, okay? I wish you guys the best, and I really implore upon you to get the test down below in the link. Take that test, understand how it works, understand the terminology, the phraseology, the situational questions, because it all relates to your interview, okay? Take care, bye-bye.